So you have delegated a task to an employee and train them on the expectations. Then you go to follow up with them and they give you excuses why they didn't do the task properly. So how do you avoid this from happening?
Oh, this is a question I think we've answered a few times. I feel like it keeps coming up, right?
It does.
So I ask them to do it, but they don't do it. So again, there's a lot of pieces to this, but the first is, does the person have clarity on what they need to do? Because I've seen some delegation where a leader is not really clear on how to delegate. Like they have this expectation in their mind of what they want, but then the person goes and does it and think they did a great job, and the leader says, well, it's not really what I had in mind. Well, that was up to you to convey.
Right.
So you set them up for failure. So again, we have the project vision. Think through the delegation process. The 5 minutes that you spend thinking through delegating will give the other person the best chance of success. If you don't do that, then you're setting them up for failure, first of all. Okay. Second, is it an issue that this person needs more training? Or is it they just won't do it? So there's always this thing with employees, right? Is it a training issue? Usually it is. Sometimes it's a will to do issue, like they just won't do it. Then we have a problem. That's sometimes a need for turnover, but it's uncommon. Usually it's a matter of just training. It's just a matter of this person understanding. They probably aren't clear on why it's so important. It's like, if I just say, hey, go do this, you might do it, but you were only doing it because you were told to do it. But if I said, hey, here's something I want you to do, but here's why it's so important. Here's how it impacts people around you. Here's how it does this and how it affects this. And you're then going to say, okay, well, this is really important. Once you take it on as important, you're going to do it. So this is usually an issue in the process of delegation, right? Which is covered again in team-driven practice at length, but that's usually where the problem lies. Now, the other things that you might find is that this person is busy. They're busy being busy. I'm just trying to hit this from all different angles because someone's going to say, well, yeah, but you don't, what about this? What about that? So here's another one. Okay, so the person is really busy. They're your lead assistant and they're running around and they've got 1,000 things to do, and then you try to delegate one more thing and they drop the ball. Well, how clear are the accountabilities in your office? How clear are the accountabilities across the whole team? Is this person trying to do too much? Are the people that are supposed to be supporting this person doing what they're supposed to do? Have I chosen the right person for the delegation, right? There's a lot of pieces to this, right? But usually it's not because the person just wants to be a shitty employee. That doesn't happen. That's not common. Sometimes people quit on you, like I said earlier, quiet quitting when they just disengage, right? Mm-hmm. Disengaged people find that might happen, but that's uncommon. You typically can see it, they stand out, right? Just dental office is a small team. They stand out. Right. So it's usually an issue with the delegation in the first place. I'm going to keep coming back to that because if the person is clear and they have taken ownership of the delegated task, failure is uncommon. Like I said, the second thing is are they willing to do it? Does they just need training, or are they actively disengaged and resisting doing anything more than their paycheck? And the third is, are there clarity in the roles? Does everyone know exactly who's supposed to do what? Because maybe this person thinks that that's their job and they're not doing their job. And then you create that thing, right? Whereas if I know that these things are your job, these things are my job, so it's not surprising to me that I'm delegated this thing, then again, more apt to do it, right? So there's a few different ways to think about that one.
Yep. That's good. How do you train team members to make decisions using the patient's practice team framework? We talk about it lots, but...
That's a good question. So if I'm going to make a decision, I'm going to make a change, I'm going to do something. I'll just take this back to we'll start with team leads discussion, then we'll go into individual issues.
Okay.
So at the team leadership, the leadership meeting where team leads are present, and we're going to make a decision, we're going to change the system. You would want to consider, how does this impact the patients? How does it impact the practice and the team? And if it checks all three boxes, then it's a good decision. Another example would be if I have a situation that is presented in front of me and I don't know what to do. There's no standard protocol for this, or I'm a newer employee and I don't know. And this patient is irate over $20. And I don't know if it's the right thing to do, and I might just say, look, Mr. Jones, we value you as a patient. I'm not sure how the confusion came about. I do apologize. We'll just take care of that. It's in the best interest of the patient's practice and team to make that decision. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to ride that person for doing that, because all they have to do is be able to explain that they thought through this process.
Right.
If they did, good. I'm not thrilled about it, that there was a problem in the first place. $20 is meaningless in the practice of dentistry, but there was an issue that came up that we didn't do a good job in explaining something, or who knows what, okay? So there was an issue that I don't like. We'll fix the issue, but I'm not mad at that person for making that decision. Right. Which is why when you make this part of your culture, you have to understand what it means. And you're giving people, and this is why we always set a dollar amount, right? It was up to $200. If you can check the patient's practice team boxes and make a decision that costs the practice some money, we're good with that, because you have made a thoughtful decision based on that. Right. If you don't, if you just, decide like one-sided decision, like I'm just going to start going home at 4 o'clock now because I don't want to stay till 6. Well, that doesn't benefit anyone but you. So that's a bad decision. Right? The answer would be no if you asked anybody, right? So again, that framework is important just to get people to think, right? It's not like a, court case where we have to like make sure that they, are you sure that you considered that, no, but it's a matter of, I just want them to think before they do something.
That's true. How would you encourage your team to try a new idea or system if they feel the old way works? Why change?
So the old way works just fine. Yes, I understand that. And, used to be fine to go back on to go around on horse and buggy too. But people like cars. So sometimes things change, and the change is usually beneficial. But just to be sure, my standard line, and now your standard line, is let's just try it for 60 days. And if it's not working, we'll change it back. Because that's usually enough for people to say, okay, fine, I'll stick it out and then we'll go back. But usually what happens by the second week is they realize, oh, this works better. And it becomes a standard process. Right. So it's an easy way to get people's heads around it. Because, and this happens a lot. Like I get this, man, I got to tell you, probably 20% of new clients. My office manager told me that they looked at your material and we're already doing all this. Yeah? Okay, sure. How about you look at it and just follow the process and watch what happens, right? Sometimes it takes us 90 days to get through to people, but once they start and they see the change is super beneficial and that the way they've been doing things, while it worked, was not scalable at all, and also causing a lot of things to fall through the cracks, and it was responsible for most of their stress, they realized that maybe there is a better way. Right? So that's just why our standard line is let's just try it for 60 days, and if it's not working, we'll change it back. So that there is an out, but we're going to commit to trying it. And like I said, inevitably within 2 weeks, it's, oh, this is great.
Perfect.